Hi, welcome to DB Online English. In this lesson, you will learn about sentence structure in English. In simple terms, a sentence is a group of words and it expresses a complete idea or thought. So, what does every sentence in English need? Every sentence needs a subject and a verb, but sometimes there's an object and or other information after the verb. Look at this simple example. Claudia studies snakes in the desert. As you see, we have subject, verb, object, and other information in this sentence. Now pause the video and study these extra examples. Sentences can include a statement, question, imperative, or exclamation. However, questions, imperatives, or exclamations may not follow the typical word order, like subject, verb, object. Statements are the most common type of sentence. A statement follows a typical word order and ends with a period. For example, he listens to awful music. Question. This type of sentence often begins with a question word like who, what, where, when, why, how, or do, and ends with a question mark. For example, what does she say? We said sentences must contain a subject and a verb, but there is one exception to this: imperatives. We can use imperatives when we want to give instructions and orders. For example, keep calm. For a negative order instruction, use don't. For example, don't open the window. Exclamation is a sentence that expresses emotion like surprise, happiness, and anger and ends with an exclamation mark. For example, great or how exciting. Now let's take a look at another important point: capitalization and punctuation. Sentences need capital letters and punctuation. As you all know, capitalization is the writing of a word with its first letter in uppercase and the other letters in lowercase. A sentence begins with a capital letter and has a punctuation mark at the end. Let's study this example sentence. He comes from New Zealand, but now he lives in Scotland. So, why is the word he capitalized? Because it is the first word of a statement. And why is there a period at the end? Because we put a period after a statement. Now let's take a look at the capitalization and punctuation rules. 1. We use a capital letter for the first word of a sentence, for the first person singular pronoun, which is I, names of people and their titles, countries, nationalities, religions, names of languages, and finally, we use a capital letter for days of the week and months of the year. 2. We should put a period after a statement. 3. And we should put a question mark after a question. Now, I would like to show you a few common mistakes students make when forming sentences. The first common mistake is sentence fragments. Let's read this sentence. She is a zoologist and teaches at a university. So what is wrong with this sentence? You are right. The verb is missing. Remember, I told you every sentence needs a subject and a verb. A sentence without a subject or without a verb is called a fragment. A fragment is a piece of a sentence, so this sentence is not a complete sentence. Let's look at other examples. The winter's usually cold. Again, this is a fragment, there is no verb. We should say the winters are usually cold. And look at the last one. The sentence starts with a verb, is, and this time the subject is missing. So we should say, it is generally sunny in Brazil in the summer. Another common mistake students make is run-on sentences. When we join simple sentences together, It's important to use the correct punctuation or a linking word. Sometimes sentences run together without these, and they are called run-on sentences. To avoid writing run-on sentences, first identify the separate ideas and then use the correct punctuation or a linking word. So let's analyze this sentence. Jack is not a good student. He's lazy. He never studies. As you see, 3 complete sentences are connected without using any linking word. The correct way to say this: Jack is not a good student, period. He is lazy, comma, and he never studies. A run-on sentence can be fixed by connecting its parts correctly. You can use a period, comma, or a linking word to fix these types of mistakes. The third common mistake students make is using unparalleled structures. Each item in a list should follow the same grammatical pattern. This is called parallelism. When you list items or ideas with and, but, or, each item in your sentence should have the same grammatical pattern. If, for example, the first item in your list is a noun, you should write the following items as nouns. If the first item in your list is an adjective, you should also write the following items as adjectives. Here, you see the examples of parallel grammatical structures. Steve and his friend go to the same school. Steve is a noun and friend is a noun too. My grandparents are poor but happy. Similarly, poor is an adjective, happy is an adjective too. These sentences are all grammatically correct. Lastly, we are going to look at subject-verb agreement mistakes. What we mean by subject-verb agreement is that the subject and the verb of a sentence should agree. In other words, when the subject is singular, the verb should be singular, or when the subject is plural, the verb should be plural too. Look at the first sentence. The subject of this sentence, the knights, is plural, so the verb is plural too. In the second sentence, however, the subject Jane is singular, the verb is singular as well. However, subject-verb agreement can be confusing in some situations. It is important to identify the subject and make sure that the verb agrees with it. When the first noun in the series is singular or uncountable, use there is. For example, there is a library in the city center. But sometimes we have a series of subjects that are mixed, singular and plural. In this situation, the verb agrees with the nearest noun. Look at the second example. There is an apple and 2 oranges on the table. Here the first noun in the series is singular, so we use there is. The second important point is that prepositional phrases can come between a subject and its verb, but they are not the subject. Choose a singular or a plural verb according to the head noun. For example, the price of NBA tickets is high. Here in this sentence, the subject is price because it is the head noun. And look at the second one. The flowers in the vase are beautiful. The subject is flowers because it is the head noun. The third important point is that some nouns with 2 parts need plural verbs. For example, those scissors are not sharp enough, or these trousers look fashionable. Here, scissors and trousers have 2 parts and we need to use plural verbs with these nouns. And finally, not all the words ending with S are plural. For example, physics is my favorite subject at school, or the news is on at 6 o'clock. In these examples, physics and the news are singular nouns. We have looked at some common mistakes students make when forming sentences. Now, let's take a closer look at some important points when forming questions. There are two types of questions. Object questions ask the object, and subject questions ask the subject. Here, you see the word order in object questions. However, the word order in subject questions is a bit different. In subject questions, we don't see the helping verb, like do or does, and the verb is always in the third person singular form if the tense is simple present tense. So that's all for today's lesson. Don't forget to do the exercises on OT class. Bye!